My name is Stuart Muszynski, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Values in Action Foundation, which is the creator of Kindland. Let me tell you a little bit about how we started 31 years ago, and now having trained over 2.6 million students in more than 9,000 classrooms and schools in all 50 states. My grandmother was the Jewish dentist in her small town in Poland, and she volunteered her services to the Catholic school free of charge, and she volunteered her services to the Jewish school free of charge. So when the Holocaust broke out in their town in 1939, when the Nazis came in, she and my parents, Ida and Stanley, were hidden by my grandmother's patients. And that is the first story of kindness that has really shaped my life. Now, if you fast forward to 1992, I was in business. I had a very successful insurance business. My wife was a clinical psychologist. And the second half of 1992, I started losing my memory, and I was like an Alzheimer's patient by the end of the year. My wife took me to the doctor, and he said, "Well, you're having a prescription drug reaction to a pill he had given me for my throat, for my esophagus, that would go into spasm from certain foods." And he figured he's going to relax my esophagus without realizing that the medical literature says that if you're on this pill long term, it's going to relax your mind as well. So he said, "I'll take you off the pill." He took me off cold turkey, which you're not supposed to do. And I had this massive withdrawal reaction. And because of that immune shock to my immune system, I got a disease called chronic fatigue syndrome, which people are learning more and more about these days because long COVID is chronic fatigue syndrome. And chronic fatigue syndrome is like having the worst flu that you've ever had, but you have it every day. Every day you wake up is Groundhog Day, over and over and over again, and you're not getting better. My wife took me to see a cognitive therapist about 6 months into my illness, and he asked me, "What messages are you sending yourself, Stuart?" And I said, "Well, I guess I'm failing myself. I'm failing my family. I'm never going to be successful again." And he said, "Yeah, you've had a shock to your immune system. And in order for you to heal, you have to start sending yourself daily messages of kindness, positivity, and love." Well, I knew kindness and the power of kindness from my grandmother's story. So I said to him, I said, "I can do this." And I created a therapy for myself 40, 50, 60 times a day. I would put positive pictures in my mind, climbing a mountain and seeing my deceased father at the top, water lapping up on the beach onto my feet, going through a beautiful flower garden. Anything that made me feel positive and happy and loving of myself. And 6 months later, I was able to get out of bed. Another 6 months, I was able to open the newspaper for the first time in almost 2 years. And the front page of the newspaper was kids killing kids in school. And if you've never had the gift of visualization, it truly is a gift. It's like a seventh sense. Things pop in your mind, pictures pop in your mind. And the day before I opened the newspaper, I had a picture of being in front of a classroom and talking to high school students about reversing their negative environments through positivity, kindness, and love. And I said this to my wife, and I said, "I think God has a new mission in mind for us. We need to share this with kids in high school." And she said, "Let's do it together." Well, she had the training in cognitive psychology. I didn't. So we put together a course, a curriculum based on cognitive psychology that took students through a journey, an all day journey into why negative things happen, and their power to turn those negative things around through the power of kindness. Incredibly successful, almost instant transformations in classrooms. And I'm talking about over 9,000 classrooms and schools in the past 31 years. In 2020, we recognized that our country was heading down the wrong path, that people did not have a core value that held them together. And we believed that that core value was kindness. And just some of the stats that we've accomplished in the most difficult school, most violent school in the Cleveland area, our Kindland programming completely turned it around. In 2016, they had lost 4 young men to gang violence, and from 2017 through 2020, the graduation rate increased by 86%. Suspensions were down 78%, and there were 0 fights in the school. So kindness really works. Our Kindland programming is an immersive collection of resource materials for teachers, combined with messaging. So we found that if you combine kindness messaging along with curriculum that deals with kindness, and all of this can be found at bekindland.com, you have that immersive impact. And it's even better if schools go outside of the classroom and involve their local communities, because then you have the community messaging kindness and you have the school messaging kindness. And that is a core value and a core competency that is life-changing, and that is a social emotional learning exercise in action that students can take every single day. This year and through 2026, Kindland is launching the United States of Kindness. And it's to ask every American, led by teachers, to do 250 acts of kindness. And this will be seeded by a challenge board of 25 acts of kindness. So even families can collaborate with 9 other families and do the 250 acts of kindness. And this is going to be an immersive push that we're making throughout America. And we need teachers to jump on board. If we, as Americans, do the 250 acts of kindness, it will pull America together. It will be like that transformation that we see in the schools. And America then will have a core value called kindness that holds us together and bridges any kind of ideological divide. So we hope that our teachers will be involved with us, and we hope that you will go to the usofkindness.org, usofkindness.org, to find out more.